In yesterday's story, Devi in the form of Kali killed Chanda and Munda, the emissaries of Shumbha and Nishumbha. On the sacred day of Ashtami, the 8th day of Navaratri, I shall narrate the continuation of the story. As Kali handed the severed heads of Chanda and Munda to Ambika, she said, "Now you must slay their masters." The masters, Shumbha and Nishumbha, were gathering their forces. Ambika and Kali also got ready for battle. To aid them in the battle, Shaktis emerged from the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and from Kartikeya and Indra. The Shaktis joined forces with Ambika and Kali. Brahma Shakti was Brahmani, Vishnu Shakti was Vaishnavi, Shiva Shakti was Maheshwari, Kartikeya's was Kaumari, and Indra's was Aindri. Brahmani rode on a chariot driven by swans and was holding a kamandalu and japamala. Vaishnavi flew in on Garuda and was holding a conch, mace, discus, bow, and sword. Maheshwari arrived on an ox and was armed with a trishula and was wearing a garland of snakes. Kaumari flew in on a peacock and Aindri arrived on the lord of the elephants. From within Ambika herself, her Shakti Chandika emerged. The sky was now filled with the Shaktis. Unable to face their onslaught, the Asura army began to flee. Seeing this, the great Asura Raktabija appeared. Aindri struck him with a Vajrayudha, and his blood flowed out in torrents. But shockingly, every drop of Raktabija's blood that touched the ground now turned into another Asura of equal might. Vaishnavi hurled her discus at him, but the same occurred. Thousands of Asuras were being generated from Raktabija's blood. But unfazed and laughing, Chandika said, "O Chamunda, drink Raktabija's blood before it hits the ground." Kali complied, and as she drank Raktabija's blood, Chandika killed him with her weapons. Finally, Shumbha and Nishumbha entered the battlefield. They showered thousands of arrows on Devi, and Devi responded with equal might. Finally, Nishumbha fell. Seeing this, Shumbha was filled with rage. He filled the sky with his 8 arms, holding powerful weapons. At this point, Chandika sounded her conch, strung her bow, and rang her bell, draining the energy from the Asura's army. Kali jumped and her lion roared. The Devas cheered on while the other Shaktis fought the other Asuras. At last, Shumbha and Devi began their battle. They hurled thousands of weapons at each other, and Nishumbha, who had only fallen unconscious, now rose and charged at Devi. Devi thrust her spear into him and killed him. Grief-stricken at the loss of his brother, Shumbha said, "O Durga, do not boast here of your pride. You are fighting depending on the strength of others." Devi said, "Who else is here other than me? All these forms are my own manifestations." As she spoke, all the Shaktis merged into her, and Ambika stood alone. At last began the terrible battle between Shumbha and Devi. The Devas and Asuras watched on, wonderstruck. Shumbha and Devi clashed, their weapons hitting each other with unmatched intensity. Shumbha seized Devi and they ascended into the sky and they battled mid-air. Finally, Devi overpowered Shumbha and flung him on the ground. He rose one more time and charged at the Devi, and Devi thrust her spear into him and killed him. As Shumbha fell, the earth, mountains, and oceans trembled, and that was the end of the great Shumbha. Shankaracharya's Mahishasura Mardini Stotram describes Devi as the one who brought about an end to Dhumralochana, Shumbha, and Nishumbha in this shloka. ऐ निजहुङ्घ्रदिमात्र निराकृत धूम्र विलोचन धूम्रशते समर विशोषित शोणिद बीज समुद्भव शोणिद बीजलते शिव शिव शुम्भ निशुम्भ महाहवदर्पिद बूध पिशाचरते जय जय हे महिषासुर मर्दिनि रम्यक पर्दिनि शैलसुते. Thank you for joining me in this story of Navaratri. See you again tomorrow.